When I was a young boy, my twin brother and I, Jason, would we would stand in the driveway. My dad had constructed a light on the end of our garage, almost as bright as the light shining on my face right now. And we would play basketball until 12 and 1 o'clock in the morning. That was great for us. Now, if you were the Harpers that lived across the street, that wasn't the best thing in the world. But we would stay out there for hours, pounding the ball into the driveway. And I would drive to the baseline and fade away. And in my head, I can hear the voice, 3, 2, 1. Josh Graves hits the game-winning shot for L'Anse Creuse North, and they win the state championship. And just about that time, I'd look over at my brother who had his own ball. It was the black Michael Jordan ball. And he would drive down the middle thinking he was John Stockton. Now, he had the same vision, but the only difference was I wasn't the one who hit the winning shot in his vision. His vision, he hit the winning shot. A good twin brother, right? Well, this actually came true when we were in the 7th grade. The coach drew up the play. Coach DeMay drew up the play, and he drew it up, and he said, "Okay, Graves, we're going to get you the winning basket." And then somebody said, "Coach, there's 2 Graves." And he said, "Okay, Josh Graves, we're going to get you the winning basket." And I'm thinking, hallelujah, praise Jesus. This is great. This is my vision, not Jason's vision. So I'm coming off the screen. Now, the problem in this story, at least for me, is Jason's the point guard on our team. If you know anything about basketball, you know the point guard ultimately has more power than the coach because he has the ball. So I'm coming off the screen, and I'm thinking, this is my one shining moment. And then I connect with Jason's eyes, and twins know things about each other that regular siblings don't. And I know there is no way he's about to pass me the ball. So he drives 3, 2, and in my head I'm thinking, no! And the ball goes around and around. We've still got it on tape. Around and around. Whoosh. And everybody else goes, yeah! And I'm thinking, no, you ruined it. This isn't what I dreamed of. We were more than just 12 and 13-year-olds with pimples and cracking voices. We saw ourselves, we imagined ourselves to be more than we already were. I thought I was Larry Bird, reincarnate, just 5 inches shorter, and he thought he was John Stockton. And when we're younger, for all of us, boys and girls, we're taught to trust our imaginations. It's a good thing, girls, when you play house, right? And guys, you can go to the moon if you want to. And then you grow older and you learn the principle of gravity. Something happens along the way, whether it's the Pythagorean theorem or the quadratic formula or predicates or prepositions. And the older we get, it seems like the more fascinated we are by the material world, what we can see and prove and touch and taste. And somehow this other world, this world where we can imagine ourselves as more than we are, somehow, well, that just becomes something relegated for childhood. I would strongly urge you when thinking about this story to believe that Matthew, for instance, wants you to use your imagination when you hear this story. That's why we've told the story as we have tonight. See, he starts with his leading man, Joseph. Now, in Joseph's culture, and Matthew actually uses this word in his gospel, Joseph is a righteous man. The word there is Sadiq. It means that he reads the Bible, that he prays diligently, that he's a man of high morals, that he doesn't eat ham sandwiches, that he celebrates the right festivals and the right religious seasons, and he's a deep person of faith. Nothing could bring your family more honor than to be a Sadiq. And Joseph is to the core. But there's an interruption in this nice life that he has planned for himself. The white picket fence and the minivan. Because his fiancée, not even his wife, and you know how this goes in church circles, right? His fiancée says she's pregnant. Oh, and P.S., it was God's idea. Now, Joseph knows the Bible. And none of the categories that he knows in the Bible fit her explanation. Here's what Joseph knows. Joseph knows, Torah says, that if his wife-to-be was seduced, then she and the man responsible could be put to death. He also knows if she was raped, that the man responsible for this could be put to death. Joseph's Bible said someone has to die. But Mary says, Joseph, this is God at work. The angel tells Joseph, this is God's way. So Joseph is faced with this amazing dilemma. He can keep God in the theological straitjacket that he has him in, or he can reflect back on the heart of God and say, maybe like in the days of Moses and Elijah and Jeremiah, maybe God is going to break his silence. And as one writer says, Joseph surveys the situation. His life is ruined, his future rejected, all of his plans revoked, his identity trashed, and he has to make a decision. And his decision is he has to trade his identity, and now he has a reputation because, as the angel tells him to, he names the mess. He legitimates the mess. He calls it Jesus. And the mess is the place where the Messiah is born. Now, Mary is Matthew's leading woman in this story. And Mary wouldn't have necessarily been known as a Siddiq, especially when all of this drama breaks out. Mary would have been known as, the Hebrew word is a na'at, which means adulteress. Now remember, when you're on the inside of the story, it's different. You're on the outside of the story, and you know how this works. You know, your cousin or someone comes to youth group and says, I'm pregnant, and it was God. Sign her up for the insane asylum, right? So people are looking and they're saying, she's gone mad. She's not married, she got pregnant, and now she's trying to cover. Was it Joseph? Was it somebody else? You know, we love gossip. And yet here is Mary, this 12 or 13-year-old girl who becomes the first disciple of Jesus. She teaches those who would follow in ensuing centuries of what it looks like to simply say yes to God, as strange and as crazy as God might be. So, you can be a daredevil, you can be a test pilot, and you can put the book down and believe that the creature speaking to you might be representing God. And it might cost you a whole lot more than you thought. So Mary becomes the one who literally smuggles God into the world. Now, I know how some of you think. At least I think I do. Let me try this. Why does God choose to reveal himself like this? I mean, he should have done what Queen Elizabeth did about 10 years ago when she visited the United States. She spent $20 million when she visited the U.S. She had 12 leather toilet seat covers, 12 attendants, a host, an entourage of people who came with her. She came in all of her pomp and flair and circumstance. And yet, the Judeo-Christian story says, God. And I think the longer I've been wrestling with this story, I think this is what's happening here. In order for love to really be experienced, it has to be embodied. It has to be interpreted. Now, those of you who are married, you know this. My wife is not nearly as interested in what I say as in will my actions reflect what I say. Love has to be embodied or interpreted. And so God, who is this ultimate reality of love and justice and mercy, he steps into his own story. The creator, the original great artist, steps into his own story and takes on flesh and blood and fingernails and eyebrows and tummy aches and puberty. Because love has to be demonstrated. Here's the thing. If you can start to believe that God stepped into the world in the person of Jesus, then you can also begin to believe, and we can learn this together, that God might just be interested in making sense of the mess that you and I have made of our own lives.